Hey, this is Braden Wiens with Wiens Wagyu, and I want to show you guys a quick recipe that I like to use on steaks that have big fat caps with like a KC strip or a ribeye. Today I'm using one of our KC strips, and I picked out one that has extra big fat cap on it. This could also be done with a ribeye that has the big point with the fat on it. It's a good way to use that fat without throwing it away or discarding it. A lot of people like to incorporate that into their steak and say that you need to eat that with your steak, and I would say with Wagyu, because it has so much marbling, you don't need to add that extra fat from the outside. Go ahead and trim that off and use it in another way. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm gonna do is trim that fat off the outside. So here's my KC strip. What I'm gonna do, I could leave a little fat on there if you'd like, but I'm going to trim this big thing off the end here. And trim that edge off like that. And on a KC strip, you got some nice usable fat here, but you also got a little bit of sinew here that I like to trim off. Get those pieces like that. If you can get in there and get some of that off, doing good. Just like that. You don't want to waste too much of the meat. Like that. So this part I'll discard because it's got a little bit of sinew right there on the top of that KC strip. But with the rest of this, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut it in half the long way. And I'm going to cut it into small chunks with the point. And we're going to cook with this. We're going to use this to flavor the rice. Also, if you got any vegetables, basically you're using it in place of butter. And the upside to it is you'll have little bits of crispy fat. Once it renders out, it leaves little crispy pieces, almost like bacon. And those adds a little crunch to your rice or whatever you're cooking. So we're going to go ahead and transfer this to the griddle, but you could easily do all this that I'm doing in the frying pan. But one of my favorite things about letting my steak rest on rice is that all those juices go straight down to the rice and add tons of flavor. Okay, we've kind of crisped up some of this fat, and we got a lot of fat here. I'm trying to keep it out of the bottom, so we're going to go ahead and add our rice. And get that frying. And that's really going to be add a lot of good flavor to our rice. Now I like to do my rice before I cook my steak because I want my steak to rest on top of a pile of warm rice. And what that's going to do is while that steak rests, it also lets out juice. And it's gonna put those juices straight into your rice and add some seriously good flavor into your rice. Let that fry a little bit. Get a little bit of Maillard on there. I got my asparagus on here. Put some of that fat right into there and treat it like your butter for your asparagus or whatever vegetable you got. And another way you could use it. Okay. All right, we've let this rice crisp up a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of my sauce that I whipped up ahead of time. It's mostly soy sauce. It's got fish sauce in it, sesame seed oil, little lime juice, some chili flakes. I'm gonna add some onions in here. Probably should have added them a little earlier, but that's okay. We'll let those cook up a little bit. Really, I would have put these onions in with that fat before I added the rice, but that fat was getting away from me so quick I had to throw the rice on there to stop it. We'll mound up the rice right on top of those onions and let them get to translucent. Okay, we're gonna just add 2 eggs. You gotta do this to every good fried rice. I like to make a little well in the middle, mix them up a bit. I don't like to get them fully cooked before I incorporate them too much into the rice. I like them to stick to the rice a little bit before I cook them all. So they're still a little runny. I'm going to incorporate that into my fried rice. Maybe that's not right, but that's the way I like to do it. I really like my fried rice to have extra crispy, crunchy parts. Those are my favorite parts on fried rice. So I'd probably take it a little bit longer than most people and really get those crispy bits in my fried rice. Especially when you add that fat, it really helps to get a nice crispy flavor, or a crispy crunch to it. So if you kind of spread it out, leave it alone for a long time if you can, and let it get those crispy edges. We're going to go ahead and plate this rice, and we're going to go ahead and grill our steak and set that right on top of this bed of rice, and all those juices from that steak are going to go straight down into this rice. It's going to be delicious. We're going to go ahead and get our steak on here. I've already salt and peppered the steak. I've got my wireless Bluetooth thermometer, the meter, hooked up to my iPad here, so I could already see my internal temperature right here. And on this steak, I'm not gonna do the one flip steak. I actually like to flip it more often and not a super hot heat. I think my grate is about at 300 degrees right now, so I'm gonna flip often until my internal temperature reaches the right. I'm aiming for 125. With this thermometer, it actually predicts when it's going to reach the right internal temperature. Even when you take it off, you know that temperature is going to keep rising, and it'll predict how soon you need to take it off in order to get that temperature to rise to the right temperature. Okay, our internal temperature is at 118. Our target temperature is 125. We're going to take this over, put it on our rice, and that temperature is going to go ahead and carry us on up to about 125 as it rests. So now when you put it right there on the rice, just like that, let it rest, and all those juices go straight down into the rice, and you don't waste a thing. So this is a great way to use up that fat.